In recent years, the NBA has worked tirelessly to recapture the attention it once commanded from the sports world. At the forefront of these efforts stands Commissioner AdamSilver, a leader whose intense focus on reinventing professional basketball has become as unmistakable as his reflective bald head. Under his watch, the league has experimented with a flurry of changes, a play-in tournament that throws lower-seeded teams into unpredictable mini-playoffs, a mid-season tournament that tries to add fresh intrigue to the calendar, newly minted Eastern and Western Conference MVP awards, recognizing standout players in each conference, and the introduction of coaches' challenges to correct questionable calls on the court. These reforms have met with wildly varying reactions. Some fans applaud the innovation, while others complain that it dilutes the game's traditions. Even the new All-Star format, designed to drum up excitement by changing how teams are selected and how scoring is tallied, has left a chunk of viewers rolling their eyes at what feels more like an exhibition than a riveting competition. Still, Silver shows no indication of stepping off the gas pedal. He's on a quest to keep the league fresh, relevant, and most importantly, profitable as entertainment habits shift worldwide. Perhaps the most debated idea circling around the NBA rumor mill is the prospect of expansion, potentially adding new franchises and reshaping everything from the format of the season to how fans experience the sport. Some people have whispered about a 4-point line, or even a league-wide lottery system that shakes up the draft in surprising ways. Yet out of all these big ideas, the talk of possibly growing the league from 30 to 32 teams has set the basketball world buzzing, arguably capturing far more headlines and generating more excitement than any novelty scoring gimmick could. Word first broke near the start of this season that the NBA, under Silver's watchful eye, was eyeing the 2027 to 28 timeframe for a major expansion. Basketball insider Evan Sidery fanned the flames by revealing that Silver plans to meet with all team owners, quite possibly this July, to address the matter formally. The two front-runner cities, Seattle, with its beloved but heartbreakingly departed SuperSonics legacy, and Las Vegas, an entertainment mecca that has rapidly evolved into one of the most attractive destinations for professional sports in North America. The mere mention of these two cities has stirred intense discussion among fans, sports pundits, and potential investors, especially as the league's next TV and media rights deals are poised to pour even more financial capital into the coffers of NBA franchises. The timeline for an official announcement isn't set in stone, but judging by the momentum, an expansion might be closer than many people expect. For those who follow the NBA closely, one huge question remains: why Seattle and why Las Vegas? The short answer is money, tradition, and the lure of new frontiers. But the long answer is more nuanced, tied to the league's history of expansions and relocations, the heartbreak of losing established teams, and the sudden rise of Vegas as a veritable sports capital in the middle of the Mojave Desert. One of the main drivers behind these developments is the NBA's fluctuating viewership and the growing sense that innovative ideas are necessary to keep casual spectators engaged. Over the last decade, television ratings for regular season games have seen ups and downs, often overshadowed by the spectacle that is the postseason. AdamSilver's relentless tinkering, whether it's the introduction of the play-in tournament or shifting the All-Star game format, reflects a willingness to experiment in the face of rapidly changing consumer preferences. In today's era of social media highlights and bingeable streaming content, the NBA can't afford to stand still. Critics have grumbled that the All-Star experience has devolved into a half-hearted affair that lacks real competition. For better or worse, no single tweak has truly solved the question of how to sustain interest throughout the grueling 82-game season. From a business perspective, though, one of the most reliable ways to infuse new excitement and revenue into a league is by bringing in fresh blood. The introduction of new teams not only drives jersey sales and local enthusiasm, but also creates an occasion for the entire league to reorganize. Suddenly, teams might shift from the Western Conference to the Eastern Conference, balancing the competitive landscape and stoking regional rivalry. is. Fans love the sense of novelty that comes from expansions. It means new rosters, new storylines, and fresh faces hoping to become the next generation's basketball icons. It also means a windfall of expansion fees, as new ownership groups will have to pay big money for the privilege of joining the NBA club, money that gets split among the existing franchises. Historically, the best lens through which to understand what's happening now is the NBA's expansion into Canada back in 1995. At that time, then-Commissioner David Stern took a bold step by adding 2 franchise teams across the northern border, the Vancouver Grizzlies and the Toronto Raptors. This maneuver was the league's first venture into international territory, reflecting an ambition to transform the NBA into a truly global brand. The move had mixed results initially. Vancouver struggled financially, eventually relocating to Memphis in 2001, but Toronto thrived, in no small part thanks to superstar talents like Vince Carter, who ignited basketball's popularity in Canada. By the late 2010s, the Raptors had become legitimate contenders, culminating in their 2019 championship win, which validated the notion that expansion could yield significant long-term rewards. Vancouver's story, while more bittersweet, also offers lessons about the risks. When the Grizzlies stumbled both competitively and financially, it underscored how expansions require delicate handling of local markets, supportive ownership, and a sound league structure to keep new teams afloat. Way back then, the NBA's revenue-sharing model wasn't nearly as robust as it is now, leaving teams like Vancouver and the Charlotte Bobcats, the eventual 30th team, in precarious positions. But after years of refining labor agreements and sharing television income more equitably, new franchises today have a more stable footing. Indeed, Charlotte's franchise value soared under the watch of Michael Jordan, who purchased the team for around $275 million in 2010 and eventually saw it appreciate to over $3 billion, a staggering return on investment that underscores why cities and ownership groups line up for a shot at joining the NBA. If there's any single city that has non-stop clamored for an NBA return, it's Seattle. The Seattle SuperSonics were founded in 1967 and steadily built up a passionate fan base, a distinct team culture, and even a championship banner in 1979. During the 1990s, led by personalities like Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, the Sonics became a Western Conference powerhouse, culminating in a thrilling 1996 NBA Finals matchup against Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls. Though they lost that series, they captured the heart of a region that loved its basketball almost as much as coffee and grunge music. But the early 2000s brought turmoil. Amid negotiations for a modern arena, rising operational costs, and ownership changes, the team's fortunes waned. Even drafting a future legend like Kevin Durant in 2007 didn't secure the franchise's future in the Emerald City. By 2008, tensions over a new arena reached a breaking point, and the team relocated to Oklahoma City. Rebranding as the Thunder, fans in Seattle felt both betrayed and devastated. For Kevin Durant's part, he remains closely associated with the teenage heartbreak of losing the Sonics, having been uprooted to OKC after just one rookie season. To this day, when the NBA hosts preseason games in Seattle, the crowd's enthusiasm is electric. Durant has often commented on how special Seattle is, even once donning a classic Sonics jersey during a warm-up period as a nod to the city's legacy. Should expansion come through, many dream of seeing Durant cap off his career by returning to a reborn SuperSonics roster, giving the city a storybook comeback and bringing closure to fans who felt robbed for nearly 2 decades. Yes, the business side matters. Seattle is a large media market with corporate sponsors galore, but there's a deeper emotional root to this push. It's a chance to right a perceived wrong, bridging the old glory days with a futuristic vision of the NBA's next chapter. Meanwhile, Las Vegas represents a completely different narrative. The city has never fielded its own NBA team, but it's arguably more interconnected with pro basketball than many realize. For years, Vegas has hosted the NBA Summer League off-season showcase that draws thousands of fans to watch up-and-coming rookies, fringe players, and hungry veterans looking to prove themselves. With legalized sports, betting growing across the country, Vegas is no longer the taboo location it once was for major sports franchises. The NHL's Golden Knights shattered expectations by reaching the Stanley Cup final in their very first season, and the city has since welcomed the NFL's Raiders, setting the stage for a formidable sports entertainment ecosystem. The WNBA's Las Vegas Aces also found remarkable success, capturing championships and drawing consistent fan support. The NBA has been circling this golden opportunity for a while. The rumored timeline for an official Vegas franchise accelerated when speculation began swirling around LeBron James's interest in someday owning a team in Sin City. He's made no secret of his aspirations to follow the path laid by Michael Jordan, leveraging his enormous wealth and star power to become a major stakeholder in a franchise post-retirement. For someone who's built a massive empire off the court, ranging from media production companies to partnership networks, anchoring an NBA team in a city synonymous with spectacle would feel like a logical final act. It would mesh perfectly with the bright lights and celebrity culture that define Las Vegas, making every home game an event drenched in star appeal. From the league's point of view, adding a Vegas team would tap into a new fan base that thrives on tourism, ensuring that every matchup could become an attraction for out-of-towners looking to catch an NBA showdown while visiting. This could mean skyrocketing ticket revenues and an even stronger national following as fans fold basketball into their vacation plans. At the same time, the potential for controversy is always present. You don't want to risk overshadowing the actual sport with the city's gambling focus. Although in today's climate, sports betting is so mainstream that Vegas might actually be less of a concern than it once was. Now, if the NBA truly moves forward with expansions in Seattle and Las Vegas, the ripple effect through the league could be immense. For starters, the addition of 2 teams in the Western geographic region would unbalance the current conference structure. Maintaining competitive balance likely means one of the existing Western Conference squads, perhaps the Memphis Grizzlies, the Minnesota Timberwolves, or the New Orleans Pelicans, would end up shifting to the Eastern Conference. That might seem like a minor detail, but it can have huge implications. Teams that have historically faced stiff West Coast competition might find an easier path in a relatively weaker Eastern bracket, at least in the short term. Meanwhile, if Seattle or Vegas somehow assemble a potent roster right out of the gate, those expansions could reshape the power dynamics, especially if big-name players decide to sign with or get moved to the new franchises. Beyond the alignment puzzle, there's the issue of scheduling. The NBA's regular season already runs 82 games, a grueling stretch that performance experts say can contribute to injuries and fatigue. With 2 more teams to accommodate, the league might consider adjusting the number of games per season. Some have floated 78 games as an ideal compromise, with additional rest days sprinkled in to preserve player health. Others have argued that more teams, more travel, and more intense competition might demand a bigger roster size or a more flexible scheduling. Nothing is certain yet, but these changes mirror the broader discussion about how the NBA can maintain high-level basketball without overworking its athletes. Then there's the question of how the newcomers would acquire players. Historically, expansions come with an expansion draft that allows new franchises to pick from a pool of players not protected by existing teams. The last time this happened, each incumbent team could protect only a certain number of players, leaving the rest up for grabs. Rumors hint that the league might offer even more attractive perks this time around, like multiple first-round draft picks in a single year or a reduced protection list for existing teams. This could supercharge the expansion team's ability to be competitive quickly, mirroring the success of the Vegas Golden Knights in the NHL. Imagine if superstars somehow ended up unprotected due to salary cap considerations or complicated roster constraints, allowing an expansion franchise to snag a game changer. The drama would be off the charts. Of course, expansion is never without its risks. In the short term, new franchises pay a hefty fee to join the league. While that expansion fee is a windfall for current owners, it also divides the pool of league revenues among more teams, potentially decreasing each club's share. Over the long run, though, if new franchises manage to succeed, they could elevate the overall brand value of the NBA, making league ownership even more valuable. The other concern is the distribution of basketball talent. Some fear that adding more teams will water down the skill level, leading to rosters packed with role players rather than marquee superstars, especially if superstars cluster on existing contenders while expansions struggle to attract big names. Still, the draft, free agency, and the inherent appeal of a fresh start can help balance the playing field, especially if expansions are done thoughtfully. Fans have divided opinions on the matter as well. Loyal supporters in Seattle are practically begging for a chance to reclaim their NBA heritage, whereas Vegas fans are salivating at the idea of adding yet another major league team to their shiny sports portfolio. But there are also those who think the league should address existing concerns, like load management, officiating controversies, or the perceived decline in defensive play, before opening the door to new squads. They worry that expansion might overshadow structural reforms the league still needs. Nevertheless, the pure excitement of seeing new logos, new arenas, and possibly new legends in the making has captured the imaginations of many. Social media is aflame with mock expansions, potential rosters, and speculation over who will own or coach these hypothetical teams. Then there's the star factor. People can't help but link LeBron James's future to the Vegas rumor mill. He's nearing the final chapters of his extraordinary career, and what better way to transition than to anchor a brand new NBA franchise in a city that thrives on glitz? Investors and sponsors would flock to such a venture. Similarly, Kevin Durant has mused about finishing where he started, in Seattle, giving fans the storybook ending that was denied them in 2008. These personal narratives crank up the drama and make expansions feel less like a business transaction and more like historical turning points in the ongoing epic that is the NBA. So, what does all this mean for the future shape of basketball? We might see a league with 32 teams split into 8 divisions of 4 squads each, or some other novel arrangement. Perhaps the playoffs themselves will expand or gain a twist, ensuring that these new franchises have a credible path to postseason success in their first few seasons. With brand new arenas in Seattle and Vegas, the league could host marquee events like the All-Star Weekend, preseason global tours, or even a mid-season tournament that shines a global spotlight on these cutting-edge facilities. None of these possibilities exist in a vacuum. They're part of an ongoing narrative about how professional sports leagues evolve with economic, cultural, and technological shifts. The NBA sees expansions as a real chance to do more than just spread out the talent. It's also about capturing new audiences, forging fresh sponsorship deals, and leveraging modern media deals to keep the league profitable and culturally relevant. AdamSilver's track record suggests he won't rest on half measures. If expansion is greenlit, expect the league to go all in with special events, marketing pushes, and an emphasis on quickly building competitive rosters in these new cities. And it goes without saying that some of Silver's other pet projects, like the mid-season tournament, may find renewed purpose in a larger, more diverse NBA. The scheduling challenges of 2 extra teams might even hasten the introduction of shorter seasons or creative load management solutions that don't undermine the fan experience. The league is hyper-aware of how vital it is to stay relevant, especially when sports like soccer, football, and even esports are fiercely vying for younger fans' attention. In the end, the question boils down to this: are 2 new teams what the NBA needs to reinvigorate the league and captivate viewers? From a pure business standpoint, the numbers almost definitely say yes. From a competitive standpoint, the jury is still out. Although leagues like the NHL have demonstrated that wise expansion strategies can yield surprisingly quick success. From a fan standpoint, especially in Seattle, there's hope in the air like never before. For Vegas residents or visitors, the idea of watching NBA showdowns in the middle of the desert lights up the imagination. The swirl of controversies, rumors, and speculations is precisely the kind of talk that keeps people glued to sports news outlets and locked into debates on social media. Of course, there's still a real possibility that negotiations with owners could hit obstacles, perhaps disagreements over expansion fees, concerns about revenue splits, or pushback from certain teams that fear losing talent in an expansion draft. Nevertheless, the momentum suggests that after decades of waiting, the possibility of an NBA with 32 teams is no longer just a pipe dream. It's a plausible reality that could materialize in the next few seasons. And in a league so deeply intertwined, with drama, narrative, and star power, the expansions in Seattle and Las Vegas might just be the next great storyline, one that reshapes the trajectory of pro basketball for years to come. So with all that said, how do you feel about the NBA expanding? Does your mind race with images of a rejuvenated SuperSonics squad roaming the newly built arena in Seattle? Or do you picture LeBron James, fresh off retirement, stepping into an owner's suite in Las Vegas, orchestrating a team that captures international fascination? However things shake out, the coming discussions around expansions promise to bring us many twists and turns. At this juncture, nothing is carved in stone, yet the chatter is too loud to dismiss. One thing's for sure, the next few years in the NBA might prove more dramatic off the court than on it, as the league navigates how to reinvent itself, and perhaps the entire basketball landscape, in one massive, sweeping move. That's the real beauty of expansion talk. It reminds everyone that sports are about perpetual evolution, never content to rest on the past. Whether you're a die-hard fan, a casual observer, a city longing for redemption, or a new market brimming with bright lights, the NBA expansion saga has something to keep your heart pounding. And if it all pans out, we might look back on this era as the turning point when the league regained the wind in its sails, forging a new path that resonates with old-timers and newcomers alike. The march toward these potential new franchises captures that timeless sports essence, hope, ambition, and the tantalizing promise of what might lie just around the bend.